Hello and welcome to Heartrepreneur TV. I am your co-host Velma Gallant and I'm excited to have you here today. We have an amazing guest today, Brendan McCauley. So Brendan graduated from FAU with a master's in business administration. He's been setting up automated systems for the past 15 years. And he combines his love for coaching and automation to help coaches and speakers get their message to the masses through virtual stages. I love this because what it sounds like to me, and you're going to get to know me a little bit through this, is you like making your clients' lives simpler. And I love that.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about how you ended up getting into the automated systems.
Yeah, 100%. So I'll give you a little bit of the backstory on why I work with coaches and speakers specifically.
Okay.
So long story short, parents got divorced when I was a kid. So pretty much I turned to binge eating, put on a whole bunch of weight. And then once I finally drew the line in the sand and I started, really changing the way my habits were and everything else, as I transformed physically, I really began to master myself mentally. And from that perspective, that totally took me down this road of personal development, of growth. And are you familiar with Beachbody, P90X, the whole workout program?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So might have touched them.
Exactly. Awesome. So, I got super into that. And then through that, I love the idea that once I was able to really go through my own transformation, the idea of coaching and being able to, get paid to do that was very appealing to me. So that was, it was kind of like in my subconscious, like that's the direction I wanted to go. Pretty much followed the parents' plan, did the 40-40-40, got my undergrad, got my master's. And then I got to a point I was like, all right, well, what I'm doing, it pays the bills, but it was not tremendously fulfilling. So I was kind of flying Chair Force One all day, staring at a computer as an inventory supervisor, which just was not my personality. So at the end of the day, I want to say, okay, well, how can I coach? How can I train? Like what does that look like? And I think for a lot of the listeners that on here, they're probably in a very similar spot where they have maybe a comfortable 9-to-5, nothing wrong with that. But they know that they want to do more in some form or fashion. So what I did, I was probably a little bit more risky than others. So I basically cashed in the 401k and I said, all right, whatever it takes, I'm going to make it happen. So got every certification under the sun. And within a couple weeks time period, I had all these plaques that were on my bed. And I stood and I looked at my bed and I said, I have no idea what to do with these at all. And so what I will say, and what I think a lot of coaches and speakers do, and the reason why I connected with Terry so much is because she helps coaches, speakers, trainers that are very much in this position on how do you take that to the next level. And what I will say is when I went through my certification, yes, I mean, you learn it's more about the modalities, but it's not so much the marketing portion. It's not how do you get out there? How do you share your message to the masses? And then really, how do you monetize that? So through my own journey, I kind of had to figure out a lot of these pieces. I got very heavily affiliated with Les Brown, so I learned a lot from him. And that kind of brought me into the world over these past 6 years to see like, okay, well, when you can sell from the stage, that's where the money can be made. And I kid you not, Velma, I'd watch people that would walk on stage within an hour, generate 6, sometimes even 7 figures and walk off and like, wow, like holy moly. So at the end of the day, what I knew is that, okay, if you can use your voice to speak, if you can use that in terms of, presenting, entertaining, educating, changing lives, whatever that is, then that's really where the money can be made. And I think how you can blow yourself up as a coach. Interesting statistic, and I don't know exactly how accurate it is, but I think it said 85% of coaches make roughly about $35K per year. So it really interesting to be in that spot. And I was there for a while. And then I got to the point where I set up a lot of these back-end systems. I do it for general companies, some for coaches. And ultimately the way I figured it out was, okay, well, how do you combine, and let me kind of backtrack. During the weight loss portion, what we used to do, which was tremendously effective, is we would run challenges. And the idea is that you'd have a lot of people heading towards one very specific goal in a very short period of time. And what they found is just because of the accountability, because of the structure, because of the speed, and because of the focus, you could get tremendous results in a very short period of time. And so I said, okay, well, how do we combine that with my just, I guess, affinity and love for like geeking out on techie automation stuff? And also the fact that I just love working with coaches, speakers, like we just, we jive very well, and put that into a system that just makes it work. And what I started to notice as I was looking at the market, like you look at all these big names that most people recognize. So a Tony Robbins, a Dean Graziosi, a Brendan Burchard, a Russell Brunson, guys like this. And what was really interesting, and do you know Pete Vargas? Are you familiar with him?
No, that's not a name I'm familiar with.
Okay, so Pete Vargas, he talks all about selling from the stage. He's very closely tied with Grant Cardone. They all do one thing in particular. They all run 5-day challenges. And what was really cool, and it makes you wonder, like, okay, these guys that are huge, that are well known, like, why are they all leveraging this one model? And when you look at how truly effective it is, and I'll use Terry as an example. She just did a 5-day challenge with me. We got her up and running, and she did 5 figures in theoretically 5 hours of teaching. So and if you want, I can dive into why it's a little bit more effective, but essentially that's how this came to be, knowing that it was just a model that worked. And, I think the biggest goal is how do we make it super simple? So anyone that's a coach, whether they've been, are just getting started or have been doing it for years, can plug into something automatically and have dramatic results.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And so what I'm hearing is that some of your observation regarding selling from the stages was super effective, and you've blended that with some of your observations of the 5-day challenges and the world today, where the virtual stage is something that is really effective now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and that's the beauty of it too. And a lot of people that used to do these live kind of stages, the fact that the whole world has now practically shifted to Zoom or things like StreamYard, which we're on right now, it makes that one-to-many kind of presentation and sale just so much easier and so much more effective, right? So outside of Here Up and just making sure I've got all my notes and everything else, like you don't have to, like, all the additional expenses, you don't have to worry about that. All the prep and the setup, you don't have to worry about that. So if you as a speaker, as a coach, as an author, a trainer, really want to be able to get yourself out there, a virtual stage hands down is one of the best ways, in my opinion, to do so. And that's why it's so effective, because literally anybody can hop on from anywhere and you can still share that message. I think here's the other part and why it stands out to me so much, and I think why Terry was so excited about it. And even if you're a brand new coach, or you want to get into this space, or you've been doing it for a while and you're not sure like the best way to increase revenue and to impact more lives, the challenge that I see is like we go and we learn all this phenomenal information, whether it's health, wealth, relationships, we know how to transform lives, we're good at it. And then there's the, okay, well, I need to make the sale on this side, but then how do I connect those two together? What does that look like? And there's got to be a bridge somewhere in the middle that's this natural offer handout of, hey, I have something phenomenal and I'd love to share this with you. And the question becomes, okay, well, then how do I do that? And there's a lot of different ways to market, right? So, hey, do I do Facebook ads? And now you have to spend a bunch of money on that. Do you host a virtual retreat? You can do that. Do you host a live event? You can do that. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. And the one that always gets me, do you use LinkedIn or not so much?
I have access to it.
Okay. So I love going to my LinkedIn, and every message, if not every other message, is I have a product. I would love to help you generate 6 figures. I don't know, I'm not going to curse on the show, but come buy my crap. That's basically what it comes down to. And it's like, oh, I can get you more followers. I can get you this. I can get you this. And then it becomes this, okay, well, let me ram my product down someone's throat. And then, it's kind of like this giant net fishing game. And the challenge, like I love how Gary Vee does it. Like he's very much, I think a jab, 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 hook. So it comes from this concept of give, and then go ahead and ask. And when you host something like a 5-day challenge, it very much comes from this thought of, okay, well, how can I give to my audience a obnoxious amount of value in a very short period of time? So what you're doing is you're allowing them to come in for free, and then you build this tremendous know, like, and trust factor through the roof. And by the time you get to the end, the natural affinity for that person is going to be like, oh my God, like if this is what they gave away for free, what would happen if I actually paid this person?
Right.
And the breakthroughs and the transformations in as little as 5 hours, and even if you do some extra VIP coaching, is tremendously effective. And that's why somebody like Terry is able to leverage this kind of platform. And I'm so excited because she's got another challenge coming up soon. And the testimonials, like that totally speaks to it. And when people are saying like, wow, like Terry, thank you so much. And not to mention that Terry had a total blast while she was doing it. It just becomes this, oh my God, I can't wait to wake up this week and just share so much knowledge and value, see the ahas, and then the people that are ready to move to that next step, it just gradually comes into it.
Well, and I'm hearing too, so 5 days, it's like a 5-day fast start for the people who are on the receiving end, right? Mm-hmm. So no matter what, they're going to be getting a crap ton of value, and stuff that, the intention is we get to fast start you, right, and get you moving. And whether that's all you receive, it doesn't matter. We've built a great relationship. I've been able to make a contribution to you, and I know that I've done my best to get you moving forward. And if it's something that they go, okay, I want more than just a fast start, I want the full meal deal, then they move on from there. So it's a win-win-win all the way around.
Yeah. And there's a couple pieces that also go into it that you're sort of doing at the same time simultaneously. So when you launch the challenge, the way it's set up is that not only do you get their name and you get their email, you also get their phone number too. And when you look at just general open rates, and from a marketing perspective, I don't know about you, but my phone is always maybe 3 seconds away from me. And the second somebody texts me, my eyes immediately, they go down and I pay attention to it. So from an SMS text message perspective, your ability to collaborate, connect, and continually build this relationship with those that are interested in what you have to bring to the table now skyrockets because you've just got another form of communication with them. So at the same time, even if they don't buy your product, you've already established this incredible amount of, know, like, trust factor with them. Now you also have their information. You have a much better idea because they're also submitting homework during this challenge. So you understand where they're at, where they need to get to in their journey, and your ability to market on a long-term basis becomes way more powerful because A, you have all their information, and then B, you know exactly what their pain points are. C, you know where they want to get to. And if you've done a couple follow-up calls afterwards, hey, maybe the one objection that they have from being able to buy your program is their spouse is not interested, or maybe they're enrolled in 15 other programs. They legit don't have the time. Right. Maybe it's a financial issue. So now it's just a matter of, okay, great. I've got hot prospects ready to buy my product. How can I best serve them and just help them to overcome those objections so they win, you win, and like you said, it's win-win-win.
Totally. Because I mean, what is it? I think they said that when you're engaging with someone, really 3% are going to be yes right now. And it's the other, let's say 50% of them are really your target market. 3% of them are going to be, yes, let's do it right now. The other 47%, what I'm hearing is you've created a brilliant opportunity for you to keep engaging with them and keep contributing to them so that whenever it is that they're ready, you're the one who's going to be top of mind as being the one to be able to serve them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the beautiful about the way that it's set up too. So what we do is in terms of, there's basically 4 steps that we do as soon as you go to set up a challenge, or even if you're going to do it yourself, this is how I'd recommend it. Start with your offer first. So we have what we call an offer accelerator. But the idea is that you want to have an offer that is so obnoxiously amazing that when you stack all the value on top of that, and I'm talking like, not only do you have the main thing that you do, but then maybe even have like 4 supporting pieces underneath that. So if you've ever, and I'm sure you've probably seen this, but for your audience, if you ever go to like a general webinar at the end, typically there's something that they offer and they say, by the way, not only you're going to get this, and it looks like those late night infomercials, plus you get this, plus you get this, and then you got this giant stack, and we're going to get 2 bonuses to you if you order within the XYZ, period of time.
Right.
And so it's not going to be $12,000. It's not going to be $8,000. It's going to be all yours for $19.97 or, whatever that price looks like.
Yeah.
So if you're able to set this up to the point where like, wow, like I have to take advantage of this, then as long as you got a solid offer that will deliver tangible results to your clients, then you take that idea and then you basically backtrack to create your 5 days out of this offer that you have. So the idea is that, okay, if I'm going to go, let's just say 5 pillars, and I'm going to split this up. We'll do it from Terry's more, for a quick example. So she helps coaches to earn that 6 figures in 6 months. Now, there's a whole series and concepts that go into that. Obviously, she has a very in-depth program, so there's a lot, that goes into it. But the whole first portion, like on day 1, it's all about mindset. Like if you don't have it right up here, like how can you expect to make all these other pieces work? So that by itself is just a very quick topic, but it can be very in-depth. And then, day 2 all the way through day 5, she's kind of splitting all these little pieces out. So essentially, when you create your challenge, you're giving like the tip of the iceberg, and it's more like the 30%. But if you really want to take like that rest of the 70% and dive in, then that's when they say, oh man, okay, well, day 5 is here. I can either go and I can do this myself with the tools I've been given, or there happens to be this beautiful, shiny plate of awesomeness that I can officially, invest into, and then put the time and effort and energy, and then get the results as promised.
Okay. So we're creating our own virtual stage for 5 days. And on each day we are giving, I always come back, and I know I learned this from Terry like 20 years ago about pink spooning things. And it was the Baskin and Robbins. You used to be able to go in and get the little pink spoon, and you could taste the ice cream. But what I'm hearing is we're not actually giving them just the little tiny pink spoon. We're giving them a good mouthful. We're not giving them the whole dessert, but we're giving them a really good mouthful so that they're really getting something of value right off the hop with each day. So it's kind of like we're getting, so if I've got a 5-section program, I might give them, a good bite of section 1, a good bite of section 2, a good bite of section 3 kind of thing, so that they're getting a good idea of what it is I'm bringing to the table for them, a really clear idea, and something of value that they could do something with immediately.
Yeah.
So am I hearing that right?
100%. Absolutely.
Okay.
And then, so the other thing that's important too is you want them to experience little daily wins along this journey, or they kind of compound on top of each other. So at the end, and the goal is that you give them a little piece of homework every single day. So, hey, we're going to talk about mindset today. Your homework tonight is, what are the top 3 limiting beliefs that's maybe keeping you back from taking action? And what are the, who are the top 3 people that most support you that, you need to call right now and just have them give you a swift kick in the butt, whatever that homework's going to be. And then you do those little pieces. And by the time they get to the end, the goal is that they've started to get that momentum going. And then, ideally to move forward with you.
Okay. And so what I'm hearing is we're not just giving them the fire hose of information and shuffling them on out the door. We're actually giving them something concrete. So, if we were to use exercise as an example, because you kind of brought that up from the beginning, the intention is at the end of 5 days, they actually see a little bit of results and feel that they've actually accomplished something during that time. Would that be correct?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you get a chance to not only learn, but also to implement. 100%.
Awesome. Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I can see where that structure, I think, is really valuable. And so what you also do is you kind of help out with that structure, don't you?
Yeah. So we have, basically we call it a challenge snapshot. And so if you look up right now and say, okay, how do you launch a 5-day challenge? You could probably find about 15 plus articles, and they'll say, okay, here's what you want to include. You want this, and this. So and this is the other thing I've noticed too. So there's the general concept on the pieces you need. There's the general overview and ideally what you want to have happen. And then there's the part where almost every coach and speaker that I know, big blanket statement, is usually not so tech savvy. So, if you do life transformation, you typically don't sit there and like code and build funnels and a whole bunch of other stuff. You leave that up to the people that's what they do. So what we ended up doing was we included every single piece in this snapshot that you essentially, in my opinion, need to use to create a very successful 5-day event. And I'm sure you've been part of events, maybe even created some yourself. In there's a lot of moving pieces. right?
Mhm.
So there's, okay, I got to drive people to a funnel. And then from the funnel, there needs to be follow campaigns that say, hey, congratulations, your ticket's approved, so on and so forth. Then send them text reminders. So all the pre stuff leading up to the events, the Facebook creation, the engagement in there. And then once you've got all these people that are warmed up and they're engaged, well, now the live event is on. And during that event, you want to make sure you're sending them reminders, letting them know where the Zoom link is, sending them the workbook, like all the pieces that go into it. So it looks very seamless and flawless if you're in it. But if you're behind the scenes and you're having to create this, a lot of times we don't always appreciate how many little moving pieces there are until you have to go and do this yourself. So the challenge is that it can be a very complicated model if you don't know what you're doing. And what most people do is they try and super glue a lot of pieces together. So like, for example, if anyone's tried to, do their own emailing campaign or do their own funnels, that right there is two different systems, and not to mention the cost that goes with it. So now you got to pay for a funnel system. You got to pay for an email system, calendars, reminders, text messages, Zoom, like the whole 9 yards. So essentially what we try to do is say, okay, let's pause for 2 seconds. Let's look at everything that potentially could go into a challenge. Where are all the pieces that most people will get stuck if they had to create it? And we want to make this so plug and play that we've got it now to the point where you can answer a series of questions and it literally shoots out into the system and it fills in absolutely everything you need. Not just that it does that, but it does it in the right places at the right time.
Right. Okay, so basically what it's like, if I really, 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 really wanted to, I could go out and do all of the research and I could figure out all of the little pieces and everything like that. And I could build my team to be able to do this, or I can borrow your team.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And look, and there's nothing wrong. You could, if this is the first time you're doing it, like, hey, I just want to get something out there, create the basic of basic landing pages, just send them a friendly email, send your personal Zoom link, and then say, hey, we're going to rock and roll. We're going to make this happen. You can probably get a number of people on there. Awesome. Like if you're working on a shoestring budget and you got to make it happen, by all means do it. Then the one thing I've certainly learned over the years is that if you have the people that do nothing but specialize in one area, spend your time on what you're really good at, as opposed to trying to learn everything. There's a phenomenal book called Who Not How. And
I've heard about that one. Yeah.
Really good book. And he pretty much talks totally about how do you leverage the people around you that are experts in their area, and then be able to just do what you do best. So like, with Terry, all she wants to do, just like practically every other coach, is put me in front of the audience and I'll change lives.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So why are you going to sit here and try and mess with like all these, triggers and integrations and send out texts and all the rest of that if it's already built? So anyhow, just in my learning, I probably wasted more time on learning how to do stuff than I probably care to say. It certainly served me, in the long run, because I like tinkering with tech stuff and that's my background. But if you're a relationship coach, if you're a health coach, a wealth coach, leverage a model that works and just call it a day. And I'll tell you, it's not uncommon. And even so, I was very fortunate. I got hooked up with a girl who's an influencer. She just launched her challenge. She's been promoting for about 4 or 5 days. She's got close to 500 people registered. So that for me, I'm like I am so excited to see what happens. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting. She didn't have any main core product. So we literally created the core product. We said, here's your offer. Here's what you're going to talk about. Start promoting. And then I'm watching the back and it's just like registered. I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's so cool.
That would be very satisfying. That is for sure. And I know, I'm a simplify kind of person. So I love the idea of plug and play. Like 15, 20 years ago, when I first connected with Terry, I was like, I can learn that. I can learn that. I can learn that. And I enjoyed learning it.
Right.
But I got to tell you, 20 years later, it's like, screw that. I'll get somebody else to do it.
Yeah, because your time can just be spent in so many better places. Like prime example, I used to go cut my grass, on the weekend, and it grows like a weed. And I'm sitting there spending 3 to 4 hours doing this, and I'm like, okay, there's not only am I taking my time away from how I probably should be serving others or spending time with my family, then I'm more physically exhausted on something that I really don't have much business doing versus a guy that I hire for $80 a month. He comes around with this machine that makes my job of 4.5 hours done in like 45 minutes. So, and plus it now employs him. It allows him to do a lot of other things. So just, in my opinion, it's more of like a work smarter, not harder. But yeah, I'm totally with you on that for sure.
Yes, definitely. Well, I think though, like you, having done that, I have enough of a basic understanding so that when I engage somebody like you, I'm not going to be staring at you like a deer in the headlights. I'm going to actually know what you're talking about. So for those of you who have been doing that, like I did, it's going to be awesome because you're actually going to be able to communicate and understand what's coming up from you. And I think that probably makes it a little easier for you when you're working with somebody who gets what you're telling them.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it can seem a little bit overwhelming, especially if you've never done something like this before. Usually what I tell everybody is like your first challenge is literally to get it underneath your belt. It's to the point to say, okay, I've gone through it. I promise you there will be hiccups in some form or fashion. There always is. First time Terry did it, I think 2 of the 3 days her internet totally crapped out. Just out of all things that could possibly happen, we tried to get on here, like your camera was giving issues. So it always happens, and it's totally normal and it's totally okay. And even just from like how you present the pitch on the first time you do this, some people are not comfortable throwing out big numbers. Sometimes we'll totally like speed all the way through the presentation, or we'll try and cut half of it. And it makes for a really good learning curve. I think the part I'm most excited about that's really beautiful is that it provides and it presents this evergreen method of lead generation forever. Unless you want to change up what your challenge is about, you literally could launch one every single month, and any conversation that you have with any potential prospect, any networking event that you go to, anything, in my opinion, you just drive them towards the challenge. And guess what? If they don't make this one, you always have the next one, because just the model by itself is tremendously effective. And then on the back end, with the way we set it up, you change maybe 4 or 5 different areas just in terms of, okay, what's the date, what's the time, and when are you going to go live? Once the hard work's done, within 30 days and everything is set up, you just rinse and repeat, and you do that over and over and over again. And it makes being able to do this on a repetitive basis tremendously effective.
I really like that. And I think it's a brilliant reminder too, because, I've been engaging in a little bit more of an exercise program of late. And with each day that goes by, so with each 5-day challenge that I do, I'm going to notice different things, and I'm going to hear and see different things. So when I'm exercising and I'm doing the exercise, the same exercises over and over again, but I'm feeling and sensing different parts of my body in different ways, and understanding it's starting to make sense to me. And so as we do our first 5-day challenge, it's going to be, okay, well, this part makes sense to me now. And then the next one will be, that part makes sense to me now. And we just get to keep building on that. So that's what I'm hearing from what you just shared.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone who's listening to this conversation, obviously, you all know Terry and you're a entrepreneur yourself. If you have not had the chance to go through her previous challenge, or actually if you want to re-go through it, and I always recommend, it's like watching a good movie. Like you always pick up like little tiny things that you didn't catch from before, right?
Exactly.
I'm sure we can probably throw the URL in there after, but I think it's challenge.heartrepreneur.com. If you want to even just understand how a challenge is run, go in there to learn. Go in there to see how somebody that really has learned how to master this process, watch them do it. Pay attention. Okay. Look at your voicemails, look at your emails, look at the text messages that come in, look at the campaigns, the reminders. It'll serve as a really good model. And then you're also going to learn a crap ton of stuff along the way from all this, years of knowledge and experience that Terry can bring to the table. So yeah, I can't wait for hers. I know it's going to be absolutely incredible. And I know we're wrapping up here on time. Is there anything else in particular that you want me to go over or touch on?
No, I think we've covered a lot of really good information. I know you're inside the group, so if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to connect with Brendan and ask him these questions. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, head on over to Heartrepreneurs with Terry Levine at Facebook, and you'll be able to engage with Brendan. I mean, you can see his name on the screen. I'm sure you'll be able to find him, and I will be putting in that challenge link there, because I love what you said about for no other reason but to, I mean, we're using her as an example, and she teaches that all the time. It's like when she was talking about her modern coaching method and stuff like that, it's like, go look at my sales page, use it as a template. And so you're inviting us into the same thing, engage in her information, learn from the information, and observe what she's doing. And go from there. So this was brilliant. Thank you so much for coming out and spending your time with us. I love your t-shirt, Action Taker. That's freaking awesome.
My buddy Doug, he also crushes it with challenges too. This is totally his t-shirt. It's like now one of my favorites.
Totally. So thanks again for coming and spending your time with us today, Brendan. I really appreciate what you've shared, and there's a lot of juicy information in there.
Yeah, truly appreciate you, Velma. Thank you so much.
Okay, and thank you for coming and watching us here on Heartrepreneur TV. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye, guys.